Hey guys, it's Bryony. So I'm here today with Lara from the Ruby Cup Company, and we are here to answer your guys' questions. I posted on my page and Ruby Cup posted on their page that we were going to be doing this Q&A today. By the time you see this, it will be May, but one of the things we wanted to promote during this video is Ruby Cup's Buy One Give Two scheme that they're running throughout May, so I'll just let Lara tell you a bit more about what that is.
So we usually have a program called Buy One Give One with Ruby Cup, where we, or the customer, donates automatically one cup when they purchase one over a website or in a store. But for Menstrual Health Month, we have a campaign running in May for the whole month of May, and it's Buy One Give Two. So for every cup a customer buys, we donate two automatically.
Which is really awesome. And if you didn't already know, Ruby Cup tends to distribute their cups in Kenya.
We are active in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda mostly, but also some programs in Nepal we have running.
And those cups go to help keep girls in school where they wouldn't necessarily be able to afford sanitary protection. Yeah. So it's really important and it's a great thing to have. So we took all your guys' questions and basically what we've done is condensed them down into the 10 most commonly asked ones, and we've chosen a few people who asked those questions specifically to mention in this video what their questions were. And we will go through them, or we might have just picked a question that we felt was a really good one that somebody gave, and then we've added that in here. But there will be 10 questions that we're answering, and let's get straight into it. So the first question is, I have a lovely pad of notes here. You see us looking down lots because we've got all your questions on here, and I've got all the questions in the list here. But the first one is tips for cleaning a menstrual cup.
So yeah, there were many questions actually, and
which is great because it shows you guys are interested in knowing more.
Absolutely. And eSuperstar72 asks, for example, what is the best way to get oil stains out of a menstrual cup?
So there are several ways in which you can do this. Some are kind of more approved of than others. One way that you can help to get staining of your menstrual cup is to leave it in the sun, which I believe is actually what Ruby Cup recommends you do. Another way is to use alcohol wipes, such as cup wipes. I think the Lunette company do some cup wipes that you can use to take off staining. They don't necessarily remove all of the staining, but they help to remove quite a bit of it. And the other method that some people use, but is not necessarily recommended by companies, in fact I don't think you recommend this way, which is to use hydrogen peroxide. You basically use a solution of this, although I don't know the exact quantities, you would have to look this up, but you basically soak the cup in hydrogen peroxide for a certain amount of time, and then you remove it, and then you would boil it to disinfect it, and then you can use it, and that should remove some of the staining, but it's up to you as to what you would choose to do. The second question we had was on when to replace the cup and also how to dispose of it.
Yeah, exactly. That was very interesting because many people were interested in the afterlife, so to speak, of used cups, what to do with them. And Kobe, for example, asks, how do you know when a menstrual cup needs replacing? So,
and we had two questions on this that we combined into this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'll answer the first one
to
begin with. So this is a very individual thing. Everyone's cup will need replacing at a different time. Generally speaking, companies recommend you change them and replace them every 10 years, but sometimes a cup might need replacing before then. If the cup is very heavily stained, it is still usable, but some people do then choose at that point to buy a new cup because they don't like the staining or anything, but it is worth bearing in mind it is fine. One of the ways that I feel is the best to tell whether a cup needs replacing is if you have a cup that works really well for you and doesn't leak or anything, that suddenly starts frequently leaking, that can be a sign that it's no longer working as well for you, and that is a point where you might need to replace it. It might just be the silicone is not as bouncy as it was.
It gets a bit softer or something.
Softens a bit. And also if you notice any sort of tears or damage to the menstrual cup, then you need to replace it as well. Because sometimes it might just be it's got bumped around against something and it's just got a little tear in it and it's started leaking, and at that point you would need to replace it.
And then the second part of that question is kind of related. For example, Mary asked that question, what's the best way to dispose of a cup you can no longer use?
So Lara and I actually discussed this before we even started this video, and realised that there isn't one certain way that has been developed or that anyone can suggest to recycle a menstrual cup. We don't really know of a good way to do that. But my personal stance on this is that because when you use a menstrual cup, you save thousands of tampons and pads going into landfill, actually just throwing one away really isn't going to cause the same amount. You've already sort of done your bit for the environment by that point. It's not going to cause much damage, but hopefully in the future we will know of other ways that you can recycle the silicone. And of course, because of what the silicone's been used for, it's not like you can really melt it down and use it for other stuff as easily.
Not as easily.
It would need to be really sterilised.
And it's still a product, it's not like really mainstream product yet, so there's not so many cups out there, I guess. It's not like there's a system.
You can't send a whole mass of them somewhere, because there just isn't that many. But hopefully, the more of you that use it,
the future's bright.
Then that will be a problem solved. But as of right now, I think you just have to think of it in the terms of you use this product, you save money from going into landfill, so actually when it comes to that point that you need to dispose of it, you've done your bit and you have not contributed nearly as much waste as you would have done. So the third question that we had was, why do cups influence cramps? And this was given by...
Well, it's handmade by Rora, I believe. I was wondering why certain menstrual cups would cause cramping during my period, whereas others would not.
So again, this is a very individual thing. I think the answer to most of these questions is it's going to be an individual thing. I personally find that certain shapes of cup will cause me to cramp more. If you're particularly sensitive inside, especially with any other conditions such as vaginismus, I don't know a lot about that. We had a question on it and we decided we weren't going to answer it in this video just because I think I need to study it a bit more and do a separate video on that. But any sort of conditions you have, or if just in general you are quite tight, if you've got a very crampy period and your cramps are quite strong, then wearing a menstrual cup can sometimes aggravate that. But at the same time, some people find that it doesn't make a difference. So it really is...
Or even relieves pain.
Yeah, or even relieves it. Yeah. I personally find that softer cups are better for when you have really bad cramps. I think firmer cups tend to sort of assert themselves more inside you, whereas a softer cup might mold a bit better. I can't really give an exact answer as to why, but it is a personal thing.
Yeah, I guess you will have to find out by yourself what works best for your shape in a way, which menstrual cup shape works for your body. So very individual thing.
But that is why they can cause cramping or make it better or worse. It's just the shape and your own body and how they
interact.
Yeah. The fourth question we had was, which cup is best for sports and how do you decide which one is for you?
So we had many sports questions too, so you were obviously very interested in that, and menstrual cups are also promoted to be able to wear whenever you want and while swimming and doing whatever sports. So we have one from Simone. She's asking, what would you say is your current favorite cup for physical exercise such as dance? What do you do?
This is a really difficult one actually, because I switch my cups around. Like I have so many that I deliberately try to use different ones to get a better sense of them. I think one of the cups I reach for the most with sport is the Lena cup, and the reason I reach for that one is because it's a very firm cup, I feel, for me. It's not as firm as some other cups that I've tried, but it's firm enough for me that my body can easily move around and do exercises that use my pelvic floor muscles, where they'll be quite strong and contract, and it won't leak. But it really depends on the amount of exercise that you do. For example, if you're someone who just does maybe like an hour of adult ballet class a week, I wouldn't say that you would need a sports cup for that, because your pelvic floor muscles aren't going to be as strong as someone who's done it for many years and is professionally trained in something, so that's something to bear in mind. But yeah, I certainly have to say that my favourite cup at the moment to use for sport is the Lena cup. It's just firm enough for me during the day, but it's weird because I also don't particularly like wearing it when I'm just sort of not doing sports, because it's a little bit too firm for that.
So an option would be to have some sort of a cup for sports,
Yes.
and then for your everyday use, maybe.
So if you are somebody who's particularly sporty, but also maybe you're a little bit more sensitive or you have particularly bad cramps, it might be worth having 2 cups, of a cup that's firmer for sport and then a cup that's softer. I do actually use the Ruby cup the majority of the time when I'm not doing sports, and it's soft enough that it doesn't aggravate my cramps anymore. The next question we had was, what are the different shape cups for?
Yeah, that's quite interesting because there's so many different shapes and cups out there. So we thought we answer that question, and Laura asked that. How do different shapes of menstrual cups differ, i.e. how do flared rims work differently, how cups with secondary rims work, rounded cups, you know, you get the picture.
Yeah.
Why and how do they work?
So yeah, there's so many menstrual cups. Certainly since I started, I'd say there's been at least 10 to 20 more brands out on the market.
Yeah.
Some of them are more knockoffs than others, but some of them are genuine brands. And I've helped design some of those cups as well. So I like this.
You're like the expert.
Pretty much.
You know them all.
My vagina is very familiar with different shapes and sizes. But yeah, so there's loads of different brands out there, and they all have slight varying degrees of differences to them. So some cups are drastically different from others. But generally speaking, the different shapes and the different rims, they're just differences that work for different people's bodies. So the same way that we're all different shapes and sizes on the outside, we're different shapes and sizes on the inside. And you know, some people will find after they've had children that their body changes inside, like the size of your vagina. You might find that you're too sensitive for a firm cup. You might find you need a larger cup because it's wider, or you're just generally heavier. So things move around, especially as you get older, and just things in general change. And if you've been doing a lot of exercise and you stop doing it,
I wanted to say it also kind of relates a little bit to the question before. Like if you maybe suddenly do much more sports and get much stronger, or the muscles are getting much stronger, maybe you also need a different cup then.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And the truth is, there's no real one way to know exactly what's going to work for you. But generally speaking, the only things you can really sort of do to begin, most cups will work for people. It's very rare that you'll have a cup that actually will not be usable at all. But you want to check like how high your cervix is, which is always, I have a video specifically on this on my channel, that basically you insert your finger, which you wash your hands, and you see how far you can insert. If you can only get it into the second knuckle, if you get to the first knuckle, you're very low, and you probably can't use a menstrual cup. If you can get into here, you've got a low cervix, which is the second knuckle. I personally have a low cervix, so you don't want to use a cup that is particularly long. So a short cup like the Ruby Cup Small, or the Lena Cup, or what's another one that's quite short, the Lunette. Then once you cut the stem off, they should be fine. If you can get it into the base of your finger, then you have a medium cervix, and if you can't touch it, you have a high cervix. So if you have a high cervix, you're going to want a longer cup, usually with a longer stem, because otherwise it's going to migrate up there and you're going to think, where is it?
It's not getting lost though.
It's not lost, it's not a black hole. People always ask me that.
Yeah.
But if you can get it into the base and you have like a medium, a high cervix, then that's, a medium length cervix, then you can use pretty much any cup. Moving on, the next one is, how do I talk about cups with my friends?
Yeah, so we had a few on those, and Mrs. Shoemaker3 asked actually exactly that. What is the best way for me to bring up using a menstrual cup to my friends? How to, I guess, make it comfortable for yourself and for your friends?
Yeah. So first of all, it depends on your age. Because if you're older and you're bringing it up with friends, you're going to bring it up differently to how a teenager, for example, will bring it up. Personally speaking, from the teenager front, I found the best way to introduce it to friends is whenever you come up against like talking about sex or periods, whatever, which you inevitably do because all teenagers do this, then I sort of found the best way to mention it is, oh, have you ever heard of like menstrual cups? They're life saviours. Like seriously, you can wear them for like ages. Because I could go to school with a menstrual cup and just wear it the whole day at school and not worry about it. And you like, it's more better for the environment, better for your body, like you don't get this toxic shock syndrome. So those sorts of, you bring it up as sort of like, oh, that's really cool and everything, and it's like a nice thing, and you can like...
In a casual way, maybe.
It's just casual, and if you introduce it as, oh, like, have you heard of this? Then they don't take it as so much of an ooh thing. They probably will anyway say ooh, but you have to go, no, actually it's really, you'd be like, it sounds gross, but it's actually really good. And actually, I think probably it's the same with a lot of older generations too. Just bring, it's just when you're in those...
I think as a teenager it's probably, I mean, I'm I'm not a teenager anymore. And I guess it's a little bit of a different situation when you're like young and you just start to experience your body really. So for me, if you kind of were talking about that, like many actually heard of menstrual cups already. And when they hear I work for Ruby Cup, then they actually ask questions. They really want to know things, so they're maybe a little bit more open, I guess. Yeah. And they're in the business for a while of having periods. So yeah,
I think it's a very mixed response as well. You'll get some people who are really like, oh no, don't want to hear about it, and some people are like, oh okay, that sounds interesting. Yeah. And what I've learned is the people who are really like, ooh, just don't even bother.
I wanted to say, like, some will not like it, and that's fine too. They don't want to talk about it. But you don't have to press it on them.
If they're a bit more receptive to it, then you can kind of go as like, oh, it does this and this. Casual is always the best way to go. Next question is, can you use a menstrual cup with an IUD? And we've also added in Nuva ring for this particular one.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those questions we get actually the most, it's a very popular and very common question with Ruby Cup, and I think you said the same. Yeah. So we thought of answering that in this video. So it's literally, can you use a menstrual cup with an IUD? But also the Nuva ring is mentioned once in a while. So we kind of include that. And T Library asked the IUD question. So yes. Naomi, tell us if you can.
So the simple answer is yes, you can. Yeah. You can use it with the IUD. It's recommended that you ask your doctor to trim your IUD wires a little bit more, though, and to be a little bit more careful when you're removing the cup. But it certainly is okay to use a menstrual cup with an IUD. But as always, it is worth mentioning it to your doctor when you get done, or if you see them that you want to use a menstrual cup, and
absolutely,
would they be okay with that? Because sometimes there might be a reason why they say, actually no, we wouldn't recommend this, but generally speaking it is fine. And with the Nuva ring, you only wear the Nuva ring for 3 weeks before you take it out, so when you take it out, I'd imagine that's when you bleed, so it wouldn't actually be in there, and it'd be absolutely fine to use a menstrual cup with that. How young can you start using a menstrual cup?
Yeah, so Kajori, I hope I say that right, Kajori75 asks, can already young girls at the age of 10 use a little Ruby cup, very specifically actually? I guess little cups.
A small menstrual cup in general. The answer to that is yes, but they have to be receptive to the idea. The youngest person I think I personally know of using a cup is 11, but I do know that some girls at 9 have managed to use them. It's a case of, are they ready? Because people mature at different paces. If they're very comfortable with the idea of a period, then it might be something they want to use. And you might have heard about it from my channel. You might have been quite young when you saw some of my videos, for example. I've seen people say, can I use a menstrual cup at this point? And I'll be like, well, it's just when you're ready. Like, there's no physical point your body reaches where it's like, I'm now open for business. You can put whatever you want in me. Like, that doesn't happen. It's just when you're ready. But as always, you need to be relaxed and maybe use lubricant, especially if you're younger. Might be a little bit more tight down there.
Very helpful for anybody, really.
And the last question we have is on how to change a cup in a public toilet.
Yeah, very good question, and it's probably the biggest concern I hear from people who don't use a cup yet. So Chill Scowin ask, what's your preferred product method when it comes to changing your menstrual cup in public restrooms? So
I personally have quite a light period, so I don't very often need to change in public, but I have had to do it once or twice. I remember when I was doing performance with the English Youth Ballet, we had like 6-hour rehearsal days, and I had my period there, and it was at the end of the day, and I realised I really needed to change my cup before I got in the car and spent 2 hours going home again. And I went into the bathroom, and I actually managed to drop my menstrual cup into the toilet. Usually,
that's probably the horror.
It's the worst. It's the most horrible scenario. So here's the thing: I got out of it. That's fine. But that's everyone's like worst nightmare. But anyway, usually without dropping it into the toilet, you would just take the cup out, pour the blood into the toilet, and use just toilet roll to wipe the cup as best you can, and then just reinsert it. That would be how you would wash out typically. And if you have a water bottle with you, you can actually pour it over as well, just over the toilet, and that will pretty much wash it out. But if you do happen to do what I do, which is drop it in the toilet, and you don't have a water bottle, at this point I realised I was not going to reinsert this back in. So I actually just put my stuff some toilet roll in my underwear, put my leotard back on, and literally just walked out. And there was a row of sinks, and we rehearsed in like schools, so it was like a school bathroom environment. And I just went out, and there were people there, but I washed my cup out. And because I just go with such purpose and did it, nobody even looked or bothered about it. And you can wipe it out, so it's pretty much clean by this point, but you're just like putting extra soap on it, so people don't even notice that there's any blood there. And then I went back in and reinserted it. But that's probably people's idea of a nightmare to do that. It's really not as much of a big deal as most people make it out to be in their heads. When you get there, you just pour it out, wipe it, reinsert. And then when you get home, you just rinse it out thoroughly then. And obviously at the end of the cycle, you boil it, sterilise it. So I think we've covered
the questions.
All those questions. So now to announce the winners, because we have a giveaway in this.
Like and you know, probably that's why many of you probably are watching.
Yes.
So there was a whole giveaway incorporated with this video and with this whole with this collaboration. So we have 3 winners, and we picked them.
We have. We've only got the email names for some, I'm afraid, so we'll read out part of it, won't read the whole email, but we've got Cassiopeia313, we've got Dagmara, and then the one I can't pronounce, but which I can.
I hope I said it right. It's Caballeras.
And we have your email addresses, so you will get email.
You will get mail from us. And
you will also get our little signed Ruby Cup pouch. I signed. Please don't judge my handwriting. It's very difficult to...
It's awesome. It looks very nice.
It's very, very difficult to write on fabric. And we will also put in a little note on these stars we have here. And we've got the boxes here with the Ruby Cups.
Yeah. So we put a little precious stars stickers on there, and you get the customized box and bag. And regarding cups, obviously you get a cup with it too, and you can choose your size and color. So we'll be in touch, and then let us know what you would like.
And then they'll send them out to you with the signed pouch and with the little note that I'm going to do as well. So thank you so much for watching, guys. A lot of people asked about the
impact side of Ruby Cup, and this video is not really the space to answer those questions, but I invite you to check out our Facebook page and other social media channels and get behind the scenes info, blog posts about our social mission and the buy one give one. So you can link them maybe down below in the description, and check them out.
They also have info about like how many girls they've helped and the percentage of girls.
Yeah, we have an impact report online.
So it's great. But thank you for watching, guys. Please subscribe, and I will see you soon. Also, don't forget you can get the Ruby Cup and cloth pads from my website down below.
Of course.
Precious Stars pads, preciousstars.net, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.